We Are a Body Like Bruce. Today we are looking at the book, a very exciting book, as we've so far read quite deep into it, titled or named The Fist That Shook the World, The Cinema of Bruce Lee by Gaul. Yes, we found it a very, very interesting book. Table of contents, the usual biography stuff about Bruce Lee's birth, where he was born, his family, etc., up until his return to America at the age of 18, and so forth. Forward. Why a book about Bruce Lee? Why now? Those are fair questions, especially from people who have steadfastly considered the so-called chop socky pictures nothing more than a way for exhibitors to attract attention, starved, not to mention popcorn-hungry patrons to the theatres. Defending the martial arts genre neither interests nor excites the author. Bruce Lee, however, did excite him, something he had done ever since he first saw him in the early 70s. Here, we agree. Watching audiences respond to him with unrestrained cheers during the battles and respectful silence during the build-ups transformed the viewing experience into something ranging from a rousing sporting event to an uplifting religious revival meeting. Quite simply, there has never been anyone like him on screen, ever. In a world of copies, Bruce Lee remains a striking original. Certainly, filmdom has had its traditional action heroes, from straight shooter John Wayne to wisecracking Bruce Willis, but no such actor ever brought his personal history to his art and displayed it in such a totally raw, emotionally intriguing, completely unforgettable manner. Lee, or Bruce Lee, willingly did what few screen artists ever do. He exposed his personal demons, focused on them, and produced a blazing show of strength, power that he seemed to rip from within the darkest depths of his psyche. The hateful prejudice he faced, the hard-won respect he fought to achieve, the closed white world he sought to conquer, and the intense passion he possessed for the martial arts all surface in his four major films: Fists of Fury, The Chinese Connection, Return of the Dragon, and Enter the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon, and Enter the Dragon. For the sake of clarity, all of Bruce Lee's films all of Bruce Lee's films will be referred to by the American distribution titles in this particular book. Those who feel these pictures are mere simplistic revenge tales that glisten only due to Lee's magnificent physical artistry should scratch the surface. Look deeper and study the images. The author hoped that this book would help people do exactly that. Although not pretending to touch on every element in Lee's body of work, the author had toiled to identify the major themes, symbols, and motivations in his oeuvre, whatever that means. He did it with the deepest respect for Bruce Lee, his family, and the legacy he left behind. However, his intention was never to be an advocate trying to transform doubters of Lee's cinematic power into true believers. Shame on those who don't already appreciate his incredible and indelible impact on entertainment. Lee displayed the majesty of the martial arts to people everywhere, and to put it mildly, the world has never been the same. When we see a child play a video game, be it Mortal Kombat or any similar title, when we see Mel Gibson using an Asian fighting style in the Lethal Weapon series, when we see a self-defense academy in every American town, when we see the blazing action in a John Woo or Ringo Lam film, or when we see Chuck Norris karate kicking villains on the CBS hit Walker Texas Ranger, it all goes directly back to Bruce Lee, who sadly never lived to see his international impact. And returning to those who deride his body of cinematic work, the author suggests enjoying the sense of excitement, adventure, and discovery Bruce Lee will provide almost a quarter of a century after his death. Like James Dean, the symbol of rebellious youth, and Marilyn Monroe, the symbol of sexual possibilities, Bruce Lee, the symbol of the common man's fighting spirit in an oppressive world, has become a screen icon for present and future generations. His passion radiates off the screen. Before starting to read this book, you may want some idea of how Lee's 4 films rank in terms of quality and impact. Here's how the author lists them. Number 1, Return of the Dragon. Lee staged the fights in all of his films, but this is his only official directorial effort. That's also Way of the Dragon, known as Way of the Dragon. As such, it provides more insights into the action filmmaker than any of his other works. We see his broad band of humour, his intense love of working people, and perhaps most importantly, his inspired sense of style in staging fight sequences. Most notable, of course, is his hard-hitting choreography for the climactic battle between him and Chuck Norris. Lee intended the one-on-one fight to be the best hand-to-hand scene ever captured on celluloid. He succeeded. Number 2, Enter the Dragon. Sure, John Saxon gets too much screen time, and the main villain is lifted directly off out of a James Bond adventure, but Lee was at the peak of his physical powers and strained to do the best job possible. He knew the stakes were high. Lee had long waited to break into the American market and viewed Enter the Dragon as a perfect opportunity. His screen character may be cold, but the passion Lee brings to the fight sequences, particularly the intense underground fortress battle involving 50 opponents, melts that frosty exterior. Number 3, the Chinese kick. Next one, for a second starring role, Lee was willing to expose the emotional side, something he would never do again on screen. How many action superstars would be willing to cry and leap on top of the casket of a loved one? Were they taking a great risk by going to such lengths with the emotional level? Lee pulls it off, and in the process infuses the picture with a heartfelt undercurrent. Lee also punctuates it with some terrific combat scenes, though the final battle with the evil Japanese school owner lacks raw power. Much like his climactic battle with Han and Enter the Dragon seems slightly disappointing compared to the earlier fight scenes. Number 4, The Superior of the Chinese Connection. Through a noble first effort, the film takes far too long, almost 45 minutes, before allowing Lee to snap into action. Once the fighting starts, however, Superior assumes a nasty, almost horror film-like edge in terms of the gore level, and it's the only Lee picture where the best battles occur at night, the moonlight suggesting the dark side of the character that surfaces when he begins Mortal Kombat. One can't help admiring the rawness of this work, which still possesses a violent shock value and provides a frightening jolt. Maybe that's the big boss. Stefan Hammond and Mike Wilkins note in 6NZ and a ballet in a bullet in the head, the essential guide to Hong Kong's mind-bending films, 1996, that what Elvis Presley was to rock and roll, Bruce Lee was to celluloid kung fu. Years before George Lucas introduced the Force to audiences, Bruce Lee displayed the fist. It was one that truly shook the world. Introduction. Here's a quote from Bruce Lee himself. To express yourself in freedom, you must die to everything of yesterday. From the old, you derive security. From the new, you gain the flow. Bruce Lee. And goes on to Clive James. It's the Brit. We had a BBC show, or BBC's Today Show. Discusses his 1993 book, Fame in the 20th Century. Brian Gumbel asked the Australian author to name the 2 people with the most recognisable faces in the world. Muhammad Ali. James said as the TV host nodded in agreement. He then paused, adding, and Bruce Lee. The second name stunned the normally controlled Gumbel. He stared briefly at James, who quickly explained that on a worldwide basis, Lee, an Asian American martial artist and motion picture star, ranked right before history's greatest boxer in terms of international recognition, despite having only 4 complete motion pictures featuring him in starring roles. For Lee's American fans, the interchange was a defining moment. Suddenly, a figure, one whose body of work was thoughtlessly dismissed by the vast majority of the country, was named the second most recognised person on the planet, an achievement that can only be imagined by today's highly paid action stars. Steven Seagal, Chuck Norris, Jackie Chan and Jean-Claude Van Damme, as well as others, obviously these talented martial arts performers, are all pretenders to the throne. There remains only one king of cinematic kung fu, Bruce Lee. He still holds that position more than 2 decades after his passing. In a short meteoric fame, meteoric film career, Lee, who died under seemingly mysterious circumstances at the age of 32, expressed himself by breaking down traditions in martial arts and by shattering barriers and prejudices in Hollywood, a place which he termed like the Magic Kingdom, beyond everyone's reach. The fight against racial hatred, ranked as the toughest battle of his life, the one that most damaged his spirit. After vowing to become a motion picture star, Lee focused on big screen success despite the words of warning from knowledgeable, well-meaning friends and students like screenwriter Sterling Silverman. He recalled, he said he'd be the biggest star in the world, bigger than James Coburn or Steve McQueen. He said, "No way, you're a Chinese in a white man's world." Then he went out and did it. At the time of Lee's death, Italian producer Carlo Ponti was preparing a film deal that would have made the Chinese-American martial artist the highest paid actor in the world. Even without the Ponti deal, Lee, whom the Village Voice magazine dubbed the Burt Reynolds of the Orient. At the time, a fitting title since Lee, like Reynolds, could easily alter from a macho presence to a comedic characterization, was the first Chinese-American to achieve superstar status. Through his body of work, Fist of Fury, The Chinese Connection, Return of the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, and Into the Dragon, Lee forever changed the image of the martial arts and of the Chinese in the minds of as Americans, as Asian Americans. But he went far beyond this limited goal. He became a potent image of the hero, even in the minds of some, a demigod with near supernatural powers, an image of self-perfection through self-discipline, a fearless rebel against a corrupt social order. Bruce was more than just a single success story, says Sterling Silverman. He represented a whole race finally accepted in films. But Lee's appeal transcended colour barriers and socio-economic lines. In Saturday Night Fever 1977, director John Badham placed a Lee poster in a prominent frame position as John Travolta, playing hipster wannabe Tony Manero, dresses in front of a mirror. Travolta's streetwise character, who works as a hardware store clerk, only comes to life when performing dazzling dance routines with the confines of a disco dance floor. Likewise, Lee's character is explained when on the battlefield by either blend into the background as in Fist of Fury, or stand out because of his bumbling as in Return of the Dragon when interacting in everyday situations. Lee's screen personas also exploited director Robert Mulligan's Blood Brothers, 1978, where Richard Gere takes his younger brother to see Into the Dragon as a special treat and a means of escaping a bleak blue-collar existence. 30 seconds of the cabin scene are shown, and the action clearly touches the boy, taking him to a fantasy world in which a smaller man conquers incredible odds with a daring combination of martial arts expertise and animal ferocity. Lee's savage fighting with its elements of deadly danger and seething passion certainly stirred a viewer's blood. His physical force went beyond a mere screen image and touched his fans in a way very, very few performers ever have or will. An incredibly sordid assortment of rip-off films attempted to squeeze profits out of Lee's screen appeal with success after the actor's untimely death. Pictures with titles such as Bruce Lee, His Last Game of Death, Bruce Lee and I, and The Way of the Dragon, the story of Bruce Lee, flooded theatres, and at one time plans were announced for Ilsa meets Bruce Lee in the Devil's Triangle. Fortunately, it never went before the cameras. Ilsa, played by Diane Thorne, previously appears in Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, 1974, Ilsa, Harem Keeper of the Oil Sheiks, 1976, and Man Eaters, 1978, all directed by Don Edmonds. The busty character's specialty was wearing Nazi uniforms and torturing naked men and women. Thorne also starred in Wanda the Wicked Warden, 1979, directed by Jess Franco. She played an Ilsa-like character named Peter Torture. Such exploitative cinematic fare simply tarnished the name of Bruce Lee, who devoted his life to learning, developing, teaching and expanding his art. From the old masters of Kung Fu, the Cantonese spelling which Lee always preferred to the westernized Kung Fu, the martial artist learned the basic principles of the art of self-defense and then added his own style, naming it Jeet Kune Do. Armed with an incredible physical prowess, he arrived on the screen, ready to do battle with the massive social forces that had held him and millions of Chinese in bondage. His screen antics also fueled the sales of kung fu films worldwide. As Chinese produced a Run Short, told Time magazine, American people always love action. Hollywood made lots of money with cowboys until Italians made cowboy pictures with more action, a reference to Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, a fistful of dollars or a few dollars more, and the good, bad and the ugly, all with Clint Eastwood, which were great movies. He was a great cowboy icon, right? Better than John Wayne, better than Gary Cooper, Ronald Reagan, yeah. They were all pale in comparison. Next from England came James Bond. Now from Hong Kong comes Kung Fu. Lee's cinematic nicknames: the fist that shook the world, the fastest fist in the East, the little dragon, king of Kung Fu, the man with the golden punch, attested to more than just his physical feats. In his first 3 Hong Kong pictures, as opposed to the American finance into the dragon, Lee struck a blow for poor common folks with the force of his fists, truly shaking the world, as he won the hearts of Asians, blacks, especially in American cities, and Arabs, as well as some Caucasians, as an indestructible hero. To blacks, Chicanos and Chinese, he was a hero because he succeeded. In third world countries, he was the first hero they ever had. He became the first Chinese screen hero celebrated by an international audience. I think Bruce is a great exploitation actor, like Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, etc. They believe what they do at the moment they are doing it, no matter how outrageous these actors are, worth their weight in gold. Observe Fred Whitechild, producer of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. What made Lee worth even more than Eastwood and Wayne types, however, was his genuine victory against the Hollywood establishment, which believes so strongly in the prejudice of the American public that it prevented Lee from becoming a major TV personality. As one ABC TV executive said during the casting for Kung Fu, this is one starring David Carradine, basically stole the role from him and gave it to that guy. You cannot make a star out of a 5'6" Chinese actor. He had to leave the US and go back to his parents' homeland, Hong Kong, in order to be revered in America, the country of his birth. Lee wasn't the only superstar rejected by Hollywood. Executives at Universal Pictures once dismissed action great Clint Eastwood because his Adam's apple was too big, a physical trait which made them feel that the actor would never be accepted as a leading man. Self-defense experts John Corcoran and Emil Farkas have credited Lee with having more impact on the fighting arts than all the other martial artists in the world put together. Praise for his legendary physical abilities is endless. James Coburn, the second celebrity student after Steve McQueen, declaring that Lee was the most perfect physical specimen he'd ever seen and the Nijinsky of the martial arts. Ballet dancer. Possibly Rudolph Nijinsky or something like that. Some weird Russian name. Lee's wife Linda Lee, widow, who often worked as his partner when he developed new fighting techniques, termed him the Galileo of the martial arts. According to screenwriter Joe Hyams, who wrote about his dealings with Lee and Zen in martial arts, the Chinese-American man was a legend in the martial arts before stepping before a camera. Even folk singer Phil Ox, a man more prone to soft ballads than hard punches, became a Lee devotee after experiencing the power of his performance with the Philippines audience in September 1972. Ox called Lee's physique the science of the body taken to its highest form, and violence in his films, no matter how outrageous, is always strangely purifying. In the 1982 issue of the martial arts fanzine, The Jade Screen, had its been blocked, attributed some of Lee's rise to being in the right place at the right time. Block told interviewer Gary Kohatsu, I think where timing came into play in terms of Lee's success was that America made a move toward China at the same time. It was the end of the Vietnam War, and there was a great feeling that we didn't understand that Orient. And now it was time to begin learning about it. There was an openness on the part of Americans of all nationalities, races, whatever, to begin to see what there was to learn about those people at the Orient. We just got the hell kicked out of us by the North Vietnamese, and President Richard Nixon had gone into China, and we saw a civilization that was working for them. and I think Bruce Lee came along at the right time in that way. As for the movie thing, I think he was responsible. He'd crossover appeal, meaning he was an Oriental, but he could play to American audiences, to many different races, and be successful. A lot of other movies made were either so badly made or so stupid that people couldn't identify, and that's why after Bruce Lee died, the martial arts genre never succeeded anywhere near the dimensions people expected. When Bruce Lee lit the fuse, everybody was waiting for the explosion, creating a new genre which would stay with us for years, and that never really happened. Lee saw movies as a combination of commercial creativity, creative commerce, and recognised that Kung Fu films represented a limited genre with only one asset, Kung Fu, going for them and everything else against him. He adhered to the genre's one aesthetic. So, if the Kung Fu is lousy or if there's not enough of it, the movie fails, and he bravely battled to expand it. First with Fist of Fury and the Chinese Connection, he attempted to be involved with improving the writing and staging the action with Return of the Dragon. He shattered the Hong Kong film studio tradition and of only using contract players, and wrote, directed, co-produced and starred in the project. All three films contain simplistic plots, but elements of racial and sexual stereotyping lurk beneath the surface, giving them, as well as Enter the Dragon, a subtext that deserves study. The following book will pinpoint many of the elements of prejudice throughout Lee's career. The use of prejudice as a theme in his films, sexual elements in the pictures, critical overviews and scenes readings. For clarification, the text is divided into a number of sections with the cumulative effect of presenting a picture of a gifted, driven genius whose sheer audacity, unyielding principles and stern stubbornness made him not only a martial artist, but in the grand sense, a cinematic artist as well. Lee once said, "To generate great power, you must first totally relax and gather your strength, and then concentrate your mind and all of your strength on hitting your target." This target, at first a seemingly impossible one, was worldwide motion picture stardom. His rise to it remains the stuff of which legends are made.